Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Today we're going to do a quick video on the benefits of apple cider vinegar. We're going to connect it to functional medicine as well. Really excited to break that down for y'all. Before we do, please smash that like button. Put your comments down below. Really curious to know your thoughts on the matter. All right, apple cider vinegar, what is it? Apple cider vinegar is essentially acetic acid. I mean, there may be some fermentable components in there due to the nature of, they call it the veil of the mother, so to speak. Some of the apple cider vinegar, like Bragg's, may have some fermentation quality to it. But in general, apple cider vinegar is going to be acetic acid. It's got a moderately low pH, anywhere between 3 and 5, depending on what you read. So some of the benefits of apple cider vinegar out of the gates is a lot of indigestion is caused by a lack of acidity, not enough acid in the intestines. And this is typically counterintuitive for most people because if they have indigestion or any acid reflux, the first thing that's prescribed to them is a drug called Prilosec or omeprazole or some kind of usually a proton pump inhibitor or something over the counter like Tums, like a calcium bicarbonate or something like that to neutralize stomach acid. Now, again, with physiology, typically indigestion is going to occur in an environment where there's a lack of acid. We need acid to activate our proteolytic enzymes, activate pepsin. That nice acidic chyme then triggers good digestion down the rest of the digestive tract with bile secretion, with lipase and proteolytic enzyme secretion from the pancreas and bile from the gallbladder. And so we need that nice domino rally of digestive kinetics happening there. And so apple cider vinegar, acetic acid, nice low pH, very helpful there. Now, I typically like using betaine HCL and systemic enzymes better. I tell patients if they have a little irritation in the gut, start off with some apple cider vinegar. Take it with a little bit of water, maybe a teaspoon, mix it in 3 to 4 ounces of water, drink it like 5 minutes for a meal, see how you do. If that makes your burning worse, you kind of know that your issue out of the gates, there's probably too much inflammation in your gut for an acid supplement to be beneficial. And this is kind of where we have to, the rubber meets the road. Acidity, apple cider vinegar or HCL can be very beneficial and can help with digestion and is an important kinematic in the whole digestive cascade. But if the gut is very inflamed, we may not be able to receive that acidity. So it's a good test. So if you're figuring out, hey, do I need HCL or betaine or something like that? Well, apple cider vinegar may be a really, really good test out of the gates. I've had some patients with even ulcers try it, and it actually helped their digestion even with an active ulcer. I don't recommend that. If you have any ulcerations, stay away from anything more on the acidic side. Work on more gut healing, gut promotion. So we typically focus more on enzymes, more on pre-digesting, pre-cooking our food better. And then we work on adding nutrients in like GI Restore, which has L-glutamine, zinc, which is very helpful for gut inflammation. It also helps with gut permeability. And then using things like aloe and DGL and vitamin U, okra, things like that are very soothing, mucilaginous, very healing. And then, of course, really staying away from a lot of the high fibrous vegetables, of course, grains, things like that, maybe even fermentables because they can feed a lot of the bacterial overgrowth that could be present in the gut and the upper small intestine. So those are good things to think about. So I like apple cider vinegar as a preliminary test to see how your gut does. Now, apple cider vinegar, the acidification process can be beneficial because that can kind of work its way down the intestinal tract, and that can be very helpful at knocking down some microbes, helping with urinary tract issues, bladder issues. I've seen it be very helpful in that area out of the gate, so that's beneficial. I would say apple cider vinegar can also help with flushing down protein metabolites like guanidine, some beneficial effects. Guanidine kind of happens from protein metabolism. Apple cider vinegar has some really good effects at flushing down guanidine, which could potentially create soreness or other metabolic issues. So it can be very helpful there. There's also a lot of anecdotal stuff about apple cider vinegar, and I think it has to do with guanidine, helping to mobilize and help your body to burn fat better. There's a lot of different cleanses out there that talk about using apple cider vinegar, and I think a lot of the mechanism and how that's going to work is through flushing down guanidine and helping to mobilize fat better. So like that a lot. Again, acidity can be a powerful tool. Usually microbes do not like to grow in an acidic environment. So your gut's going to be more acidic, typically 2 to 5 or so. That acidity then moves back up to a more neutral pH in the small intestine as bicarbonate is produced by the pancreas. Of course, things like bile acids are produced by the gallbladder, which are slightly acidic, right? Between, around 5-ish. Bile itself with cholesterol added can be a little bit more a neutral, but it just depends. The bile acids are more acidic. And then, of course, enzymes are going to be pH driven. A lot of the enzymes in the small intestine will be a lot more neutral, meaning they're going to be active more in a neutral state, around a neutral pH state, because your body's trying to take that pH from the stomach that's around 2 to 3 and bring it back up to a more neutral pH as you start to produce a bunch of bicarbonates from the pancreas as that food moves from the stomach into the small intestines. I hope that helps. Your peptic ulcer, be very careful. If you have any intestinal ulcers, be very careful. You're much better off working with the functional medicine doctor. Work on your food first. If you have active gut inflammation, work on food allergies, can be a big driving factor of inflaming the gut. Work on healing and soothing nutrients second. That'd be something like my GI Restore. Work on more enzymes, less acids out of the gate. If you want to do a apple cider vinegar test, like I mentioned, teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, a little bit of water, a couple minutes before a meal, see how you do. Digestion's neutral to favorable, you can work on tapering that dose up. We want to make sure if we're adding something in digestive-wise, we're not causing a problem. Now, what about working up the HCL or apple cider vinegar to tolerance? It just depends. If we're within, a reasonable dose of apple cider vinegar, like, up to maybe 2 tablespoons, that may make sense to do that. If your tolerance, let's say, is 3 or 4 tablespoons, don't worry about that. And that's where you want to start moving on to a supplement, because a lot of HCL is going to also have pepsin in it. So you're going to have more HCL, more pepsin. It'll be more therapeutic. And with HCL, we're going to be up to like 3 to 5 grams max typically. And again, some people, their digestion really gets better as they get closer to that 3 to 5 grams. Some, they have diminishing returns at 1 to 2 grams. So everyone's a little bit different. As long as we're not creating inflammation, creating discomfort or pain, we're open to working that up, as long as there's none of the big red flags like I mentioned in the beginning. Ulcers, blood in the stool, peptic ulcer, stomach ulcer, irritation as you taper up from 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, then you're probably okay. And if you overdo it and it's a problem, you can always do something like some sodium bicarbonate, aka baking soda, mix in a little water and drink it. That will help neutralize that, because it's a nice neutral to slightly alkaline pH, so that'll be very helpful at neutralizing any acid that's over the top, that's too much. So keep that in mind as well. And the question is, why do I have irritation in the gut to begin with? So if you're looking at addressing and using my 6 R's, right, removing the bad foods, that's check. We're replacing enzymes, acids, maybe bile support as well. We're going to be working on gut healing, gut restoration, gut repair, as well as hormone repair. Remember, hormones are very anti-inflammatory, especially adrenal support can be very anti-inflammatory. If the adrenals are low, it can be very helpful. If the adrenals are overstimulated, you could also be very catabolic with your adrenals, and that can be breaking down your gut lining. So it's good to look at that. Now, root cause, you want to look deeper at bacterial overgrowth, because bacterial overgrowth can obviously set the table for a whole bunch of indigestion issues. It can create fermentation and a lot of gas from methane and hydrogen, which could throw off your digestion, throw off your motility, create discomfort, create constipation. And then, of course, if we don't have that good acidity and if we have that bacterial overgrowth present, it may be harder to tighten down that esophageal sphincter, and you may start to have more burping and more acid reflux because of that bacterial overgrowth. And then, of course, probiotics can be very helpful, but if you tried probiotics and it's not making you feel better, you definitely have a bacterial overgrowth, and you need to really work kind of my 6 R's as I'm kind of lining them up for you, as probiotics can sometimes be very helpful out of the gates, but most of the time they may cause problems. And I tend to always put those off to the side, because there's a lot of things that can be done out of the gates, and I try to work at a foundational level and then go up. And that the probiotics are up a little bit higher on the totem pole and how I operate, right? First R, remove the bad foods. Second R, replace the enzymes and acids. Third R, repair the gut lining and the hormones and the adrenals. Fourth R, we remove the bugs. That's the 4th R. 5th R, repopulate, reinoculate good bacteria, pre-probiotics. 6 R, we retest. And then some of the X factor here is if you have a spouse or partner, because it's possible to spread things back and forth, especially things like H. pylori. So again, this is Dr. J here. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up. Share with family and friends. And really appreciate it, guys. Let me just check questions here and see if I can help you out. Also, if you want to reach out, link down below. You can reach out to myself. I'm available worldwide to help you all out. I have colleagues as well that will provide that support for you. So click down below for that link. And I appreciate it. Let me see what we got. And guys, I'm going to skip questions that are not pertinent to the topic. So when you're writing a question in, try to connect it if you can. Okay. I got adrenal fatigue and chronic stress. How to restore cortisol levels naturally. Yeah, so I would go to justinhealth.com, put that adrenals or low cortisol in the search bar, and then find a podcast on that topic. That's going to be too long of a question to answer, but anyone listening, feel free to take a look at that. Started taking HCL 1 or 2. Noticed my throat started burning badly. Started enzymes and bitters instead. Is that a good move? Yes. Yeah. Bitters can be a great substitute for acids. Bitters can stimulate a little bit of acid production, but bitters also can be a little bit anti-inflammatory as well. So it may not be as irritating as like apple cider vinegar or like citric acid like lemon juice. So, bitters are a good move, and you can always start at a very low dose of bitters and titrate up. Kind of take it just like you would with the apple cider vinegar, right? A couple of drops in water, a couple minutes before a meal is totally fine. What would your, that's off topic question. Hey doc, on carnivore, good sleep, no heavy metals, but impossible to get rid of fungal infections. How do I treat it? Even strong antifungals like chlorine dioxide only help temporarily. So I mean, you got to work through the 6 R's, right? And so my 6 R's, you got to get the diet component under control. You may have that with carnivore. Got to make sure we're able to break down and digest all those different foods. That's the second component. And the third component I don't think has been fully addressed yet. It's got to look deeper at the hormones and the adrenals. I would really put more focus on that third R, get that dialed in. And I'm not sure if the second R is fully dialed in either yet. I got adrenal fatigue, so crash in the afternoon. How do I maintain cortisol levels with supplements? Thanks. Yep, that's going to be an adrenal podcast question. It depends upon where the adrenals are out of balance. Is it a high issue? Is it a low issue? What's going on? So all that matters. So good podcast on that topic. Received some thyroid results, TPO 30, TSH 0.6, and looking to start a better digestion routines. Definitely got constipated, and that is full feeling in the gallbladder. Kind of off topic. Can you speak to stomach and bile acids effect on SIBO? Yeah, so bile acids are going to help break down fat. So if we have indigestion of fat, that can be a problem. If we're not breaking down fat, we're probably going to have protein indigestion as well. And HCL is a really important trigger for good gallbladder release. So if we don't have good bile production and stimulation, we probably don't have enough acid either. So that's why you never can just support bile by itself. You're always supporting bile with HCL, and then you're always going to be using enzymes typically to help as well, because there are some enzymes that will help break down fat, like lipase. So it just depends upon where you're at, and that can help. Can you speak to stomach and bile acids effect on SIBO? I hit that question already. If taking 3 HCL tabs with each meal, where does apple cider vinegar fit in? It doesn't. So if you're already on the HCL, then apple cider vinegar would not fit. It's kind of a preliminary thing. If you're kind of dipping your foot in the functional medicine pool here, and you have some stomach issues, that's kind of something that you would start with. And again, if you have irritation or burning with that, then that just has to change the focus on the conversation on where to address. And that just means that there's a lot of gut irritation, a lot of gut problems going on there. I think Reese, I chatted with you yesterday, so keep focusing on the HCL. The ACV would not be a fit for you because you're already way past that. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, comments below, thumbs up, really helps the search algorithm, and share with family and friends. All right, links below if you want to reach out. You guys have a phenomenal